Odd But True presents 5 technologies that will change everything. Number 1. 3D printing. Three-dimensional printing is in the same stage the internet was in the early 90s. It's expensive, everyone's scared it'll be used for evil, but we know it could be awesome. Sure, some people might be able to track down the plans for an AK-47 and print one off in their own home, but when a 5-year-old using a homemade ID drawn in crayon can walk out of a gun store with a weapon, why should that be an issue? To understand the true impacts of 3D printing, you have to look beyond the scaremongering at the wider picture. How will it be used to make money? Customized self-printed goods are expensive now, but with falling prices for 3D printing technology, this will eventually become the norm, meaning companies won't have to outsource manufacturing processes to countries halfway across the world. In the future, you will buy the blueprints for a product rather than buying the finished article. Or maybe just trying to steal the design for a new pair of Nikes off the Pirate Bay. In that situation, your shoes will probably come infected with a Trojan that lets Russian cyber gangs control your legs. That won't be much fun. Consumerism is just the tip of the iceberg, as the potential exists to enrich our lives in more meaningful ways than purchasing random junk off the internet. In 2014, a hamburger was created using a 3D printer, a production method which could potentially lead to both the end of world hunger and the beginning of a brutal war between rival suppliers of beef-flavoured printer cartridges. And so what if you eat your way to a heart attack? Why not just make a new one? The emerging field of bioprinting could mean an end to organ waiting lists. Using cells from your own body, it will be possible to create new body parts without the need for anti-rejection drugs. A team from Kentucky are in the process of developing technology which can print a working human heart from your own fat cells. So all those people looking forward to furiously printing burgers in their own homes just got a greasy little ray of hope. Number 2. Nanobots. Nanobots are theoretical machines or robots which are as small as a nanometer, which is 1/1000th of a meter. To put that into perspective, a sheet of paper is 100,000 nanometers thick. However, much like Justin Bieber's voice breaking, nanobot construction remains a hypothetical concept not yet witnessed by man, albeit with a far greater likelihood of occurring. Whereas we imagine future nanobots being able to guide themselves and perform complicated tasks, right now, nanotechnology is quite simplistic. Researchers at the University of California used rudimentary nanobots, consisting of nothing more than polymer tubes coated with zinc, to release specific drugs into the stomachs of mice. So at the moment, we can do no more than help rodent junkies get their tiny rocks off. But what might the future hold for this exciting technology? If we can control nanometer-sized robots and send them on specific missions inside the human body, the race for immortality might genuinely be over. You won't need to reprint yourself a new diseased organ, as your friendly swarm of tiny helpers can just repair your body on a molecular level. Surgery to heal bones and remove cancers may come to be seen as medieval as drilling holes in your head to let the demons out. Nanobots may also be the key to fully curing mental diseases and even enhancing our brain's potential exponentially. What powerful abilities could be unlocked if our grey matter's efficiency was increased even by a single percentage point? Please let it be something cool like the ability to fly or cook waffles with my mind. I'm going to be really disappointed if the only thing we're capable of is memorising more useless facts about celebrities. Did you know Mark Wahlberg nearly killed a guy? See? Useless information. Speaking of killing, what would the invention of tiny swarms of robots do to warfare? As a race, we sure do love us some violent conflict, but how can you destroy an army if it can instantly heal itself? Why would you shoot a bullet when you could just take someone apart with a horde of tiny weapons you'll never see coming? At least this technology might finally put an end to Call of Duty games. Or is that wishful thinking on my part? Some ambitious scientists predict we may begin to start utilising an early version of nanobots within the next 10 to 15 years, whilst others are more sceptical about a time frame this short. What is certain is that if this kind of technology does come to pass, the human race will be taking one more giant evolutionary step away from our humble beginnings. I bet dinosaurs are so jelly. Number 3. Graphene. In 1984, 2 people in Manchester, England came together to create something amazing. But enough about me. 20 years after that, in 2004, 2 researchers at the University of Manchester improved upon that landmark creation significantly. Whereas my material is known to be flimsy at best, Professors Andrei Geim and Kostya Novoselov developed a material which is 200 times stronger than steel, yet lighter than a feather. Before this discovery, graphene was an entirely theoretical material, which scientists knew could be extracted from graphite, but with no idea how to do so. The 2 professors' discovery landed them a Nobel Prize for physics. So what can we use this exciting new material for? If you're anything like me, you're sick to death of your clunky mobile phone making your ass look like it has a weird rectangular tumour. Wouldn't you love to fold it up into a tiny square and wear tight shorts all day long? I know I would. Foldable screen devices will eventually become a reality thanks to graphene. Not only is it tough and lightweight, but it is also more flexible than Stretch Armstrong's secret love child. It is also as conductive as copper, so graphene could have applications in faster computer chips and broadband. Seriously? Are we going to use every emerging technology for the sole purpose of obtaining pornography that little bit faster? I hope so. But graphene will help us do everything faster, including charging our phones. Batteries made from this material could be fully juiced within 5 seconds, so we could finally see the mass production of viable electric cars, electric planes, and those rechargeable futuristic sex dolls from every sci-fi movie ever. Also, do you ever get so lazy when you're swimming through the sea that you just want to lay back and gulp down the ocean? I do too. And if the narcs at MIT enact their plan for a graphene filter, you might be able to do just that. Its holes are large enough for water molecules to pass through, but small enough to prevent salt following it. This could lead to the environmentally friendly yet entirely repulsive situation of recycling our own household water waste. What's that? Grandma's coming over? Get the filter out. We won't need water for a week. Number 4. Evacuated tube transportation. Man has constantly sought the ability to travel vast distances in the blink of an eye. Horses, cars, airplanes, executive pogo shoes. Our forefathers would have been dumbstruck by the idea that you could get from one side of the globe to the other within 24 hours. Or 48 hours if you get drunk in the departure lounge of Hong Kong Airport and miss your connecting flight. So, what method of transportation will inspire similar feelings of awe in our generation? It'll have to be something pretty great to get over our future's distinct lack of hoverboards, but evacuated tube transportation could be the most exciting transport development since those little soda cup holders went supersized. Self-driving cars are in the news a lot, but that technology won't change the way we live a great deal. Sure, there will be fewer auto accidents and we'll have more time during our commute to start hateful arguments with our families, but we will still get from A to B in relatively similar times. No, the future revolution lies in long-haul journeys. Evacuated tube transportation is purported to be the next big thing in sustainable global travel. These giant tubes may look like something out of Futurama, but their design means they're far safer than the idea of hurling a sack of meat and bones through a Perspex death tunnel. Elon Musk, the fragrantly named co-founder of PayPal and inventor of both rockets and the Tesla car, is a proponent of this tube technology as the future of local and international commuting. His Hyperloop system proposed connecting Los Angeles to the San Francisco Bay Area using a series of reduced pressure tubes carrying pressurized capsules. Musk describes it as a combination of Concorde, a railgun and an air hockey table, which makes the future of world travel sound like something a drunken frat boy had invented. A rival venture called ET3 also has the potential to change everything about the way we live our lives. They claim their tube system could take you from New York to Beijing in 2 hours. Just think, at lunch you could be eating cheap, tacky Chinese food slathered in grease. 2 hours later, you could be in Beijing. Initial speeds for interstate trips will hit 600 km per hour, whereas transcontinental journeys could go as fast as 6,500 km per hour. Even if we never get past the local 600 km speeds, the possibility of being able to live hundreds of miles away from your place of work could see the massive redistribution of major population centres like New York and London. However, on the downside, it could also see the massive redistribution of your internal organs if something goes wrong. Maybe I'll skip that Chinese food before I take a trip. Number 5. Mind-reading tech. If you were to take John Edwards' psychic abilities out of his body, transform them into a liquid, pour them into a cup and then force his body through a mincing machine, you'd have a lot of happy people and an entirely empty cup. Charlatans and conmen have long claimed the ability to read our thoughts, but the technology to actually do this does exist, and in the future it could lead to some rather interesting situations. Jack Gallant, a researcher at the University of California, has built a machine which can decode your brain. In this experiment, he showed people movies while his team measured their brain patterns. He then used an algorithm to interpret those signals into a visual image, and the results, albeit fuzzy, were astounding. The technology is still in its infancy right now, but another team of Japanese researchers are using the same technique, known as fMRI, to read into your dreams. Their readouts have so far been a little hit and miss, but as time goes on, they may be able to present an accurate slideshow of the images your brain conjured up during the night. And if that possibility doesn't scare you, then you're a far more innocent person than I'll ever be. Of course, if you can interpret people's brain signals, you can also use this tech in a medical context. Coma patients and those with locked-in syndrome could be allowed to communicate, which may be both intriguing and absolutely horrifying. An application which seems more likely to become useful in the near future is currently being developed by DARPA, who are testing and refining robotic limbs for amputation victims. Neural implants within the brain of a female patient paralysed below the neck enabled her to eat a chocolate bar with a robotic arm controlled entirely by thought. Okay, so those are the cool and worthwhile applications of mind-reading technology, but what about the worrying ones? Have you ever sent a drunk message to an ex at 3 in the morning? I do that at least twice a day, and soon it'll be even easier than ever, as technology exists which can interpret your brainwaves and type out a text or email message without you touching a single button. Can't be bothered learning the language when you're travelling abroad? Universal translators may be able to just figure out what you meant and translate it for you. There are many great potential uses for mind-reading technology, and plenty of horrific ones too. If your girlfriend figures out what you really think of her mother, those shoes, and that haircut, you might need some of that bionic limb technology for a very special area indeed. So, those are just a few future developments that could change everything about the world we live in. But will they live up to the hype? Are most of them even feasible? How many of these concepts have we willfully misinterpreted just for comedic purposes? And which technologies have we deliberately imagined to be more amazing just to shoehorn in another D-list celebrity reference? The answer to all those questions lies, of course, in the amazing, fantastical future. Now, where the hell are my mind-reading, genetically modified hover shorts? I want them.